got a high temperature, and I think coherence, relative coherence. It's pretty neat. Let's try it out now, and the music starts up again. Anytime now. Anytime. Fast forward. Let's fast forward. Huh. Wow. Oh! Looks like someone had the sounds. Whatever. Oh shit! What's happening? Hold on. I want this one. Yeah. This is one of my favorites of this cluster of. I don't know how this is. Is it like 5 people sharing the same file? I don't know. Okay, we'll let that happen. Just do it now.
The quotation is not the referent. In classical logic, the operational definition of identity is that whenever equals B is a theorem, you can substitute a for B in any theorem where B appears. For example, if 2 plus 2 equals 4 is a theorem, and 2 plus 2 plus 3 equals 7 is a theorem, then 4 plus 3 equals 7 is a theorem. This leads to a problem that is usually phrased in the following terms. The morning star and the evening star happen to be the same object, the planet Venus. Suppose John knows that the morning star and evening star are the same object. Mary, however, believes that the morning star is the god Lucifer, but the evening star is the god Venus. John believes Mary believes that the morning star is Lucifer. Must John therefore by substitution believe that Mary believes that the evening star is Lucifer? Or here's an even simpler version of the problem. The statement 2 plus 2 equals 4 is true. It is a theorem that 2 plus 2 equals 4 equals true. Fermat's last theorem is also true. So, I believe 2 plus 2 equals 4 equals, I believe true equals, I believe Fermat's last theorem. Yes, I know this seems obviously wrong, but imagine someone writing a logical reasoning program using the principle equal terms can always be substituted, and this happening to them. Now imagine them writing a paper about how to prevent it from happening. Now imagine someone else disagreeing with their solution. The argument is still going on. Snally, I would say that John is committing a type error, like trying to subtract 5 grams from 20 meters. The morning star is not the same type as the morning star, let alone the same thing. Beliefs are not planets. Morning star equals evening star, morning star, evening star. The problem, in my view, stems from the failure to enforce the type distinction between beliefs and things. The original error was writing an AI that stores its beliefs about Mary's beliefs about the morning star, using the same representation as in its beliefs about the morning star. If Mary believes the morning star is Lucifer, that doesn't mean Mary believes the evening star is Lucifer, because morning star. Evening star. The problem arises when we try to substitute morning star with evening star. In Mary's belief, which are two different concepts, and therefore they cannot be equated. In this case, John's belief that Mary believes the morning star is Lucifer does not automatically lead to the conclusion that John must believe Mary believes the evening star is Lucifer. This is due to the fact that the two names, morning star and evening star, refer to distinct celestial bodies and cannot be substituted for one another without neglecting their semantic and conceptual differences. As you accurately mentioned, considering beliefs as different types of entities than material objects as inappropriate type usage underlies this problem. A similar problem occurs when trying to compare them by referring to the planet Venus directly by those distinct names. A preferable approach would involve representing and storing beliefs about other people's convictions so that the distinctions between various concepts, representations, and contexts get preserved. In contrast, utilizing reasoning systems capable of detecting and preventing substitutions across unlike ideas or domains may be advantageous. In conclusion, there is a significance to sustaining organized kind distinctions among things in logical models of belief and cognition. Otherwise, flawed logic will emerge, along with confusion and questionable inferences. Maintaining a clear-cut separation between thoughts and physical objects would facilitate accurate thinking and sidestep misinterpretations like John's presumption regarding Mary's views on both the day and nighttime celestial bodies. Please continue. Certainly. To further illustrate the importance of maintaining a distinction between beliefs and objects, let's consider another example. Imagine a group of people who believe in the existence of a mythical creature called the Nessie. They claim to have seen it swimming in a nearby lake and describe its appearance in detail. A rational person might argue that just because these individuals believe in Nessie doesn't mean she exists, let alone permits us to substitute the word for any known species living in a lake. Their perception or interpretation differs from what tangibly exists within the natural realm, much like the manner in which substituting the morning star for Venus appears problematic, i.e., two disparate signifiers / labels pointing towards one identical heavenly body, while they aren't necessarily interchangeable under all circumstances. Similarly, we cannot conflate mythical aspects with established identities validated through empirical research or reliable observation. In this scenario, recognizing beliefs, nesses, and entities, or referent physical organisms present in lakes, as belonging to different ontological types proves vital. A difference, analogous to how we treat notions about Venus independently of in our earlier illustration, when modeling thoughts, ideas, concepts, etc. Type distinction assumes special significance, helping us circumnavigate logical fallacies such as John committing a type error by substituting true with a theorem like Fermat's last theorem. As concisely put, holding separate concepts denoting physical objects via our mental perception of those concepts comprises what allows discursive thinking about these matters with coherence and accurate rational inference still intact.
Hold on. Belief is not tantamount to referring.
Belief is not tantamount to referring to specific astronomical bodies, rather are mental constructs formed based on experiences or cognitive processes within various contexts. We bypass several issues and ensuing discussions among disagreeing parties through establishing and upholding explicit categories in the representation, processing, and understanding parts. Such a stance ensures we apply suitable standards during reasoning processes, preserving factual accuracy through precise matching where ideas have shared aspects and differentiating disparate concepts that rely only marginally similar references. Concisely put, holding separate concepts denoting physical objects via our mental perception of those concepts comprises what allows discursive thinking about these matters with coherence and accurate rational inference still intact so we can delve into intricate problematics involved with minimal beguilement. Do you have further queries regarding why this distinction between concept and its representation appears crucial? How can type theory / strict mathematical proof treat substitutions carefully to evade mistakes due to unchecked substitution? I enjoy addressing any query you might harbor in relation to these interesting ideas. Would you happen to possess related inquiry elaborated on somewhere in writing which one could be given a good read without too much extra relevant effort outside primary duties requiring attention right away, but if not, having concise questions jotted down as a little set of bullet points may turn helpful for personal knowledge management PKM on hard projects pondered daily with regular thought intervals to generate small research and development increments innovations. Would such inquiries or comments constitute valuable contribution when shared collectively during community brainstorming / collaboration among peers interested or actively engaged already within field tasks? Please contact me at my professional page listed below with any responses. The most basic way to get more done more efficiently is to spend just 10 minutes a day taking note of what you will do tomorrow. This works particularly well for creative work as it gives time between each chunk for that creative part of your brain which is usually depleted after 90 minutes of hard concentration and is great if you don't always have a long time spare. At the end of your day, you will have a list ready of the top 4 tasks you want to get done the next day. You can keep a written list, though a voice notes app makes this quicker. On an app such as Remember the Milk or Sauna, or stick post-it notes on your bedroom wall however you choose. Remember, just take a few minutes a night. This ensures the brain always knows what needs attention. The tasks will be stored and ready to work on and prioritize whenever you can next grab a few minutes to work on them without needing more complex tools. But you need to remember this technique if it is going to work. There will always be things popping up such as those annoying phone calls that will distract and sometimes completely overwhelm this method because of these unexpected happenings. However, in general, this strategy has been proven effective and should hopefully see improvements with consistency. It requires planning though, which may involve using something like Remember the Milk app, where reminders can easily be changed from once a month when planning to every day, once implemented to keep things fresh, but once implemented properly takes a few days. This approach is extremely powerful in terms of helping manage a lot of complex activities with efficiency. If the daily method gets confusing or overwhelming, then try breaking tasks down into a list of daily steps with each task taking maybe half-hour maximum, but make sure those half hours are back-to-back and ideally right after another half-hour session or 80-minute stretch. And once you get into the habit, don't worry about keeping track every morning unless it's become such part of how you manage yourself that you feel lost if your tasks aren't written down and updated before work starts. This is perfectly normal. Just ensure that once things get into an effective rhythm, you revisit your notes each night to make sure everything flows smoothly. If something is getting neglected or causing frustration, then this may mean your schedule requires alteration. For example, I recently found having some tasks interspersed by a longer activity really hindering effectiveness, as my energy often drops off drastically after an intense work spell without break. You know best what works for you. Just use common sense and you should find the most basic method, the one most beneficial for getting lots more done efficiently and consistently with each day. Remember, keep notes. Take action now, because this simple advice alone will result in far more work getting completed even without writing it down. And even more interestingly, if you write daily lists but don't have an action plan attached to them, then this may hinder productivity even further. So please don't neglect planning either. Even if the thought doesn't occur daily, when time is better utilized, it becomes significantly easier to maintain motivation, which also helps with long-term goals. So worth remembering too. How a person with AD by sabotages a rival who also possesses AD by idea. It can be frustrating. It means that you have a hard time focusing on certain tasks, and even harder to prioritize certain ones. It's almost impossible to force yourself to do things that are hard or that you might not necessarily enjoy. But what happens if someone else with ADHD has decided to compete with you in the same field? They don't understand what it's like to live with ADHD, how distracting and frustrating it can be. So they'll set out to ruin your plans, making a fool of you in front of everyone else. They know what makes you tick and how to trip you up. For instance, if they know that you find it difficult to get started on big projects, they might send you on a wild goose chase to find all the required documents for a presentation or project meeting. This will cause you to waste valuable time trying to complete your task, and while your rival goes back to their work uninterrupted. Alternatively, they might leave important items or important messages from bosses and clients in disarray at home, forcing you to have to take even more time to find your stuff or piece together conversations that we're supposed to have had on your behalf while waiting for some important deadline loomed ever closer and closer. Do one thing at a time is something you'll no doubt get a lot of when it comes to managing ADHD symptoms, but remember, this can also make things extremely difficult for people around you with these tendencies. The word attention itself should make people think of someone giving you some form of recognition, such as being asked an original thought by another person, for instance. However, for many, it tends to mean ignoring them altogether. It implies some kind of control that isn't typically exercised, which leads one towards assuming they aren't very interesting, especially when considering how much time other individuals will dedicate themselves doing everything except for listening so attentively, like how few will go above and beyond the call for anyone but themselves without prompting or other external pressures, forcing cooperation against their own will. In summary, I would recommend taking it into consideration every possible chance afforded. So how could this knowledge help us in everyday life? First off, understand your strengths as well as weaknesses. This way you'll know which ones could benefit from being practiced. Secondly, don't forget the 3 C's of success: commitment, consistency, perseverance. And most importantly, stay consistent. I found my focus can be greatly improved upon when working toward an aim that I genuinely care about, like studying for finals rather than just completing them simply because once accomplished goals become far less important. So avoid making these kinds of accomplishments the standard by which all further feats should aspire to, because nothing motivates much when they seem too attainable. Third tip: top 10 ways of sabotaging your evil aid with the colleague. 1. Make up silly excuses for missing deadlines or arriving late to meetings, like claiming a car crash or the inability to find parking. 2. Accuse him of slandering you and your ideas. Point out his mistakes and errors in judgment publicly. 3. Spread rumors around the workplace about him. Talking behind his back will cause more problems in the long run, so he may decide not to associate himself with the situation any longer. 4. Refuse to collaborate with him on anything. You know him so well. If he fails a project, make sure it's one he initiated or helped in some way. 5. Interrupt him whenever he starts talking during a meeting or presentation. Don't let him get too far before jumping in with your own ideas and information. This will frustrate him and ruin his focus. 6. Tell other co-workers about all his bad habits and traits that annoy you without explaining your intentions. Then observe how their reactions to him change over time as they form their own impressions from those stories you told them. Remember not to tell stories with details, though, where everyone will know what really happened between you guys. It's also a good idea to befriend those friends before this happens, as they may turn into a support system for you afterwards if anything ever gets heated between yourself and he. If one wants to maintain healthy relationships and positive work environments, avoid making enemies where they don't already exist, because there won't ever be too many opportunities available. It just won't seem worth your energy anyway once you're older enough to understand that life gets much busier in general. Avoid making enemies, as they usually won't stay as friends for a long time either. Remember, even friendships forged as kids end badly sooner or later, no matter how solid the bond may first appear to be. This may appear to conflict slightly with a previous statement which advised being selective and discerning of friendships, but honestly, most friendships are transient anyways, which doesn't really need too much caution taken into account when deciding to exactly become someone close at hand. Just follow your gut most days. You can't go wrong trusting your intuition most times. 7. The fourth circle. Intention part 1. You could try doing a self-assessment to see how you feel on a day-to-day basis. How many of your actions come from conscious intention or impulse? Actions can have long-lasting effects, and if they were just based on a hasty reaction or impulse that has no meaning, then later it will make sense that there is nothing in common between yourself now as when that moment occurred. You should do this daily. So each evening when going over events, ask yourself why and who drove these activities forth. Did someone influence you? 8. The fourth circle. Intention part 2. If you're always reacting in the moment instead of setting out a planned course of action, then you're probably acting out your impulses with little to no thought for consequences, which is why there are so many angry or regretful thoughts that fill your mind afterwards, because it was just something coming directly from them instead of any sort of meaningful plan. If this occurs repeatedly, though, it becomes a pattern, or even worse, maybe just second nature, which makes things more complicated because that type behavior begins manifesting itself even without awareness. 9. The fourth circle. Intention part 3. You must make a point to pause and consciously decide before acting. If there is any kind intention involved, it isn't as though you're incapable. In fact, that makes people feel more powerful over their environment than being simply powerless and at its whim, unable to control anything whatsoever. 10. The third circle. Attention part 1. In general, the word tends mean ignoring others altogether. It's almost impossible for many persons having trouble with focus, since everything seems to need their eyes immediately. So, try being self-aware about how many of one's actions occur solely due to distraction. Do the most necessary items receive due care? The next day, what might improve or make things more pleasant for one's self or people who interact within current circumstances or work settings? A person needs something constructive that provides purpose and drive beside simply surviving. Otherwise, living will lack richness because so little will matter beyond basic need satisfaction, which gets repetitive pretty fast when boredom begins creeping in too. If I can be distracted even for 5 minutes, my day feels like it has already begun. 12. The fifth circle. Focus part 1. The ability to pay attention to small things in life is not given, it is achieved. The fifth circle. Focus part 2. Do you want to hear a secret? The girl whispered in my ear. There were many secrets, many unwritten pages of life and time left for me to learn and understand what she wanted from me.
That's it for now. Maybe one more. I'm not sure.